Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. We have the lawnmower guy out in my front yard for background effects, for sound effects, and for background noise that I don't actually appreciate, but we're going to deal with the best way we can. I'm going to actually try to mute the mic in a few instances when I get the opportunity. But here we go. I did want to share a few things with y'all today that I thought were most pertinent to the news cycle, what was really going on, things you may or may not have heard about, things going on in the know about what we really want to hear about prosecutions, indictments, subpoenas, the type things that are really keeping us involved at this point. Most people that are paying attention to the news today are trying to find out not just how great Trump can continue to make our country improve it, but we're waiting on prosecutions. I know it's not just me, it's a whole lot of us that want to see the end of this tyranny, criminal action, and so many other things. Apologize for the mow guy in the yard, just bad timing on my part, but it is what it is. I'm going to feed the guy today with some of this food. I feed the homeless every week. My mow guy's about 80 years old. He comes out and mows every 2 or 3 weeks. Like clockwork, older black guy. He's definitely not a Republican. We've went down that road, but I still consider him a pretty good guy. So I'm not only going to pay him to mow my yard, I'm going to pay him or pay him with food and gratitude, even though he's being horrible background noise for the video. But let's go ahead and get into what I want to talk about today, some real news. Hopefully everybody can bear with the background noise, as I say. Mike Davis, if y'all don't know who that is, he is one of the people in the know about what's going on in politics. He is a former chief of counsel for nominations to Senate Judiciary Committee. So many of the Judiciary Committee people that are voted in, including Supreme Court justices and things, Mike Davis is one of the people that actually fights to get them in there. He's a behind-the-scenes fighter for the cause of the conservative movement, the MAGA movement, for a very, very long time. I follow him very closely. But at any rate, he helped get Chuck Grassley in, or should I say, he is the nomination to the Senate Judiciary Chairman, Chuck Grassley, and is the former founder of president of the Article 3 Project, which fights against lawfare, defends constitutional judges, and fights to restore justice in the rule of law. He is also the founder and managing partner of MRDLAW. He's a great attorney. He has done a lot of fighting for the America First project, for the for the country more than anything, for Trump's rights, for the American people's rights. And I must say that he is one of the good guys. If you don't already know, go look him up. If you don't know his accolades, Google it, or should I say, go to Siri or go to X and grok it. That is probably the best source of information out there today as far as truth about politicians, how they vote, how they act, who they are, backgrounds, bios. It's really a good source of information. If you don't already know, Grok is great as far as AI sources go. Considered one of the best today. Not a plug for Grok or Elon Musk X, but it just is what it is. But Mike Davis also leads the Internet Accountability Project, otherwise known as IAP, an advocacy group organization fighting to rein in big tech. As chief counsel for the nominations, Mike Davis advises Chairman Chuck Grassley and other senators on the confirmation of federal judges, Senate executive branch appointees, serving as staff lead to 30 hearings, 41 markup meetings, and he's oversaw the floor votes for 278 nominees, including the confirmation of Justice Kavanaugh and a number of other circuit judges, including President Trump's in the beginning of Trump's first presidency in the first 2 years. Mike Davis has got huge accolades. He is one of the good guys in the know, for sure. But if you don't know Mike Davis, here we go. We're gonna get into it. What he has said. There was an event about like a CPAC event or a awakening tour type event, a conservative action group of fellow conservatives get together and discuss what's going on in the world, collaborate to fix what's going on in different places, what they can do, all kinds of things. It's promotional more than anything, but it's actually for awareness. I think is the best answer to going to one of these things. I've been to 3 or 4, and it's always been worth the effort, worth the money, worth the time. But at any rate, Mike Davis says from the Article 3 project that at the Vindicated in Las Vegas yesterday, he talks about the political lawfare waged against President Trump. He calls the Mar-a-Lago raid an attempt to seize Crossfire hurricane records, which, if you're paying attention to what's going on in the world in the last couple of years, you probably know, like I do, that is most likely the obvious reason why they went there to search this stuff, to try to get back some evidence that would incriminate them, just in case he won. Because that was, at that point, they had a feeling he was going to be the next president. All right, let's listen to some Mike Davis together.
You should take comfort from knowing that there are smart legal minds who are not worried about the Michael Teeters and the other, the Soros threats in this world to take away their bars certification and all that crap. They're not worried about that. They're worried about doing the right thing. Mike Davis has the Article 3 Project, a very important organization fighting lawfare. He has overseen more than, 200 presidential appointments, right, for confirmations. You know what? We got a little bit of a problem there right now, okay? I don't know what the hell the Senate is doing, but light a fire up their ass, please. Mike, get them going. We need appointments, and we need indictments. Mike Davis on justice is coming!
I love this.
So thank God President Trump won this election, or this would be Kamala Harris's gulag today. Now it's Trump's witness protection program. So I see a lot of friends out there in the audience. Thank you for having me, Laura. This is fantastic. General Michael Flynn, you are truly a hero. We're going to talk about a lot of what happened with Crossfire Hurricane today. We are at the 3-year anniversary of the Mar-a-Lago raid. And I remember after the Mar-a-Lago raid, I was enraged because I knew. I worked in the White House before. I've worked in the Senate. I've worked on the Supreme Court. I've worked in the House. I've worked in every branch of government. I knew what Biden did to Trump was unprecedented, unnecessary, and unlawful. And I knew the reason why they did the Mar-a-Lago raid instantly. And I've done 5,000 media hits over the last 3 years, being a loudmouth, constantly defending and supporting President Trump because I knew what Biden did to Trump with the Mar-a-Lago raid and the subsequent lawfare is Republic ending, right? So let's talk about that. The Mar-a-Lago raid was to get back President Trump's declassified Crossfire hurricane records. And they are very damning records. You're starting to see them. They're starting to come out. And you understand why Obama and Biden and Hillary and the Attorney General at the time, Brennan Clapper, Comey, a lot of these bad actors did not want these records to come out. Let me tell you what happens. Back in 2016, Hillary Clinton had her illegal home server as the Secretary of State. And not only did this home server, illegal home server, have our nation's most classified secrets, they're born classified, that's espionage. What's more problematic for the Clinton family, the Clinton Foundation, is it had evidence of the Clinton Foundation's foreign bribery schemes, pay-for-play foreign bribery schemes. She is the Secretary of State. The Clinton Foundation's taking tens of millions of dollars from shady foreign actors around the world. And what is Hillary Clinton doing as Secretary of State in exchange for these tens of millions of dollars going into the Clinton Foundation to underfund their lavish lifestyle, including the private jets and all the other crap that the Biden or the Clintons were doing? And so this she got caught with her illegal home server, right? And she thought, okay, well, I'll just destroy the evidence. And so she took a hammer to the phones, she took bleach bit to the server, and she thought this evidence was gone. But guess what? That server was not secured, and that server got hacked. And it almost certainly got hacked by our worst enemies like China and Russia. And so what did Hillary Clinton do to pre-butt this if it came out before the 2016 election? She made up the Russian collusion hoax. She had Perkins Coie, her law firm, make up the Steele dossier. They lied with the Steele dossier. They presented this evidence to the federal courts, the FISA court. They lied to the FISA courts. They got illegal spy warrants on then candidate Donald Trump and others in this room, maybe General Michael Flynn. They continued to lie to the FISA court. When President Trump shocked the world and won the White House in 2016, they knew they were in trouble. They knew that this was going to come out before when President Trump was in office. So they did a lot of bad things. They took out Michael Flynn as the national security advisor. They continued to spy on President Trump when he was the president of the United States. They hobbled his presidency. I remember I came in as I clerked for Justice Gorsuch for the first 3 months. I was one of his elderly law clerks on the Supreme Court to help him get set up for 3 months, and then I got roped into going to the Senate Judiciary Committee. And I remember the second day on the job as the chief counsel for nominations, everyone in the Senate, including the Republicans, were all spun up that Trump is a Russian asset and he's colluding with the Russians. And I remember I asked at the time, I said, colluding to do what? Like, what the hell was he colluding to do? And of course, I was considered a Russian asset because I asked a very obvious question, colluding to do what, right? So I remember my second day on the job was the nomination hearing for Chris Wray, who President Trump was forced to take as the FBI director after somehow it became a scandal that President Trump fired James Comey. Apparently the President of the United States can't fire someone in the executive branch. And so Trump got stuck with Chris Wray, and I remember that was the nomination hearing on the second day on the job. This Russian collusion hoax hobbled President Trump's first term, right, where he was subject to constant investigation. His family was subject to constant investigation. President Trump accomplished a lot in his first term, including a record number of federal judges, transforming the federal judiciary. Senator Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, my former boss, played a big part of that. We're going to do it again in the second term, but they really hobbled President Trump's presidency with this Russian collusion hoax. Why Hillary did this is she wanted to say before the 2016 election that if this evidence came out of her foreign bribery schemes, she wanted to be able to run and say, you can't believe this. This is a campaign dirty trick. You cannot believe this, right? And you say that Trump's working with the Russians to put out this campaign dirty trick, disregard this evidence. And you say, Mike, that sounds crazy. How could you possibly say that? Well, guess what? They ran the same play in 2020 with Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. Remember what they said? They had the CIA, the current CIA under President Trump, go to the 51 former intel officials and say that the Hunter Biden laptop from hell was had all the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign. You can't believe it. They got the big tech platforms, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple deplatformed the New York Post, America's oldest newspaper, and actually took the link off the internet, so you couldn't access this story about the laptop from hell, the Biden family corruption, right? And so that story getting out there absolutely would have swung the election. We all know the election was stolen, but there's no question that Trump would be back in the White House in 2020 if that story got out there, right? And so they did the same thing in 2020 when they tried to say it had all the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign. This is where it gets messy, right? The day before President Trump left office, January 19th, 2021, President Trump declassified Crossfire Hurricane. He fought his intel officials on this, but he had good people working for him at the time. And they uncovered these documents showing this Russian collusion hoax, this Crossfire Hurricane that they ran to take out a presidential candidate. Think about this. They used the Justice Department, including the FBI, along with our intel agencies, Obama, Biden, Hillary, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, all of them, working with outside actors in this criminal conspiracy to take out a presidential candidate. And when they failed, they tried to take out the president of the United States with this Russian collusion hoax, right? So President Trump declassified Crossfire Hurricane the day before he left office. But guess what? The spooks ran to the White House and said you cannot release these documents because you're going to violate the Federal Privacy Act, which is a crime. And so Mark Meadows, the day they left office, January 20th, 2021, Mark Meadows signed a memo as the White House Chief of Staff and said, okay, do your Privacy Act review and then go release these documents. Well, guess what? They didn't do the Privacy Act review. They did the Mar-a-Lago raid, right? And it was to get back the Crossfire Hurricane records. And the reason this became such a problem is because President Trump sued Hillary Clinton in federal court in the Southern District of Florida for Crossfire Hurricane. It was a civil lawsuit. These records were going to come out as part of that civil lawsuit. These Crossfire Hurricane records were going to come out in discovery as part of that lawsuit. Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhart down in the Southern District of Florida had to recuse from that civil lawsuit.
Hillary Clinton was fixing to be exposed in a civil lawsuit involving the same information that was trying to be redacted over another case due to the feds. They were trying to protect the deep state operatives, including Hillary. And it didn't go so well in the end because they tried to shit on Trump and there was no hiding that. And so it backfired. I'm just glad to see it. Mark Meadows goes on for another 7 or 8 minutes, but he is somebody to follow if you don't follow a whole lot of politicians on, say, Twitter or YouTube. He is one of the people like Steve Miller that is in the know, is fighting for our team, is doing his best to try to get the best nominations in there for our judiciary picks. He is trying to push the woke out and bring the conservative movement in when it comes to nominations to get Senate seats, judiciary nominations, from judges all the way down to the lowest level court appointees. He's one of the good guys, should I say. It says, cleaning up Biden's mess. Now, I reported on this just a couple days ago. Trump, since he has taken over Washington, D.C., has decided that we're not only going to do that, we're going to do what Laura Loomer suggested. Let's review the whole entire visa processing situation, because there's a lot of people that are in violation, whether they be student visas or work visas, of people that haven't reported, maybe have done crimes, maybe are wanted by the law. So many possible violations with 55 million people in this country. A good percentage, what is that, like 10%, 15% of the people in this country are here on a visa? Let's find out how many millions of them are on the up and up, and how many millions of them are violating their visa status, including being jihadists because their social media account shows that they're here to destroy America. I'm talking about all these crazy college kids, these woke suckers that think it's okay to promote death in the streets to America and Israel. I would say if they don't love this country and they're not from here and they're here on a visa, get them out. Make them go home. Let them figure out what's more important to them, their politics or their education. Since the Biden administration, in addition to at least 10 million illegals entered into the country according to the CBP data, failed to deport at least 3 million, almost 100,000, who had already been encountered. More than 617,000 of those had criminal convictions on pending charges, and the 1.323 million million, almost 1.5 million. With the final deportation orders, we're still allowed to remain in the country. So this is what they're saying with this whole visa program. They're going to vet 55 million people, go through their record and say how many of them are due for deportation, how many of them haven't showed up on time, how many of them have a criminal record that has happened since they've been here and we have never cross-referenced the two pieces of information, how many of them are here illegally at this point on the run for one reason or another, how many of them have violated one of the statutes of the visa program. And Trump is going to have opportunity not to just go round them up according to if we can find them, but these people that are on these visa programs, we know where they work, we know where they go to school. Most of them are probably pretty easy to find, so you can better believe this is going to be the mass exodus of illegals in our country that do not belong here, have violated their opportunity to be a welcome visitor, and who will be soon deported. So hold on to your bootstraps. We're fixing to see mass deportations behind this here. It may take a few months to get in order, but they're eventually going to have a list of people that got to go. Just behind this particular investigation that Laura Loomer started with all these Pakistani and several country illegals that were here on work visas that just were never forced to leave, even after the fact that they were here being criminals and past their time of expiration on their visa permits. So Laura Loomer exposed all that, and to this day, we now finally are getting some investigation into it. I'm so glad to hear that. That is just one more loophole that they've been using to destroy this country, and it's on the mend. It's going to be a tool we use against them instead of them using it against us. Glad to see it.
We're learning more about the FBI raid on John Bolton's home and office. What were investigators really...
I don't want to talk about John Bolton, but he got raided. I'm sure all of you know at this point. He ain't happy about it, and Roger Stone thinks it's great. Actually tweeted to him, how do you like being raided at 6 o'clock in the morning like me? More than that, I wanted to bring you this video here because I want to talk about what Trump is doing. He is bringing to 19 states the National Guard in order to help clean up / eradicate the illegals, help with the migrant deportation process and any clerical work, anything that needs to be done. Trump has literally got 19 states that are fixing to mobilize in certain areas, certain cities, to clean the place up, knowing that we've only got a year or so before the soccer FIFA Cup games go on here. And we're going to have to clean up those cities beforehand, so we're going to have to take care of the immigration problem, illegal immigration problem, the crime on the streets, and all the things that go along with crooked politicians that let these criminals get out of jail with no repercussions. Trump's got a lot of work to do in about a year and a half, but I believe he is doing his damnedest, and I'm just glad to see it. Glad to see the results that he has got in motion at this point. It's so good.
Beyond the nation's capital. In fact, the administration is now planning to deploy 1,700 National Guard troops to 19 states over the next few weeks, and that should be very interesting. And with that, we welcome you to another hour of Fox News Live. I'm Kevin Corke here in Washington. With more, we want to head over to the White House, the North Lawn to be specific. That's where we find my buddy Lucas Tomlinson, who has more on what has been a very busy week for the president. Hey, LT.
It sure has. Good morning, Kevin. And the Pentagon says over 2,000 National Guard soldiers are patrolling the streets of the nation's capital right now. And President Trump says they could be deployed to other big cities as well.
We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York.
Now, last year, Kevin, the murder rate in D.C. was on par with Chicago and nearly 4 times higher than Los Angeles and nearly 6 times higher than New York. Last hour, Congressman Pat Fallon told you D.C. needs to be cleaned up.
Yes, folks, it's happening. They're going to clean up D.C., make it the show model, and go across the country to probably 20 to 50 woke, broke Democrat cities. Whether they be in Republican states or not, and just see what they can do to beautify them by getting the problem of the crime handled up on. Prosecute the people that are out there doing these vicious crimes. Get the murder rates down. Get the homicide rates down. So many things could be changed. Carjackings could be slowed to a halt if we just had a little bit of a police presence in some of these places, and the fact that people know if they screwed up, they weren't going to be let out of jail in 36 hours or 24 hours with a no bail necessary process because they're in a woke city. That is, if nothing else, incentive for these people to go out and commit these same crimes over and over again. Gives the criminal no reason to worry, actually. Trump says Chicago will be our next victim. Says wait, and then it'll be New York, San Francisco. We're going to do a crime crackdown incoming because lots of Democrats are calling him for help. We're going to do a crime crackdown, immigration sweep, all in one shebang. I like it. Come in there with several different agencies and clean up the drugs with the DEA and clean up the illegal immigration with the ICE, and come in there with these street sweeper cops and make sure everybody is accounted for, taken care of, and safe again. Now, I thought this was kind of off topic, but I thought this was an interesting fact because I've thought about such things myself, posting things like this myself in the past, but worried it may be taken as racially motivated or biased. But DC Drano, who I follow very closely here over on X, great channel, great attorney, he says this, and he's absolutely right. And I can think of several other examples as well. He says the first black president of Harvard, Claudine Gay, was forced to resign for plagiarism, which is not such a horrible crime, but it's a crime. First black woman Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, DOJ investigating for mortgage fraud as we speak. First black woman mayor of New Orleans, LaToya Cantrell, indicted for corruption. First black woman as Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook, DOJ investigating for mortgage fraud. All within the past year and a half. And there are so many more we could add to this list. I think Tanya Chutkin and so many more will be in. And what's this? The one, Fannie Willis, she's going to be under investigation. So many of these people are going to be under investigation. Matter of fact, mortgage fraud is going to probably bring down more people than you can imagine. It was the crime that they've all been getting away with, but probably not for long. I'm glad to see it. How do you see the pattern here? These are all melanated women. Do you think George Soros picks a particular race of people and a particular gender or gender identifying people to try to coerce to be his minions because he knows they got a chip on their shoulder and they're probably easily coerced considering they're mad at the system the day they get there. That's why they got into politics, to change things. So they're the obvious choices to try to recruit as part of your evil plan, George Soros. I believe that's really how it works. The Democrats are the radicals that get paid to be an outspoken radical. The more you are like a Jasmine Crockett, the more publicity, fundraising, and accolades, and maybe even contracts you get a piece of from the George Soros types because you're willing to stand up for the wackadoodles in the Democrat Party, including yourself. Now, this is some crazy news that was just confirmed earlier today. It says DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, confirmed that you said gave Chelsea Clinton a grant of $82 million through the Clinton Global Initiative. $3 million which was spent on her wedding, probably $500,000 on her dress, and another $11 million on a mansion. So $14 million of that $82 million definitely went towards their own personal needs. Isn't that fraud? Considering it was a charity, NCO3. Says no income tax was paid on any of this money. Now, why I bring this up is because the fact is, not only do I remember Trump being prosecuted for everything under the sun by Letitia James, Chutkin, so many, Jack Smith, so many of these people, the black guy, I forget his name, but it just, they all come after him from 4 or 5 different directions to try to take him out, and they even tried to make his sons liable for what was going on in his businesses in New York. They tried to give them charges as well, and even in previous cases, they tried to go up. They spied on Donald Trump Jr. So I'm thinking, well, a lot of times, like probably Nancy Pelosi's kids, who are probably criminals, just like the Clintons' kids are probably criminals by proxy of the fact that they learned how their parents play the game and have gotten filthy rich on being people that know how to work the system. I'm sure when they step into politics, it's because they believe not only their family name, but the experience they've learned through watching their parents be evil, wicked people manipulating the situation will be able to help them. They got great pointers, I'm sure. So I think it is a great idea to investigate the president's sons and find out they've done nothing wrong. So just in turn, it's great to investigate former presidents' children as well, like the Chelsea Clintons and the, so many more. But at any rate, Chelsea Clinton got $82 million from this Clinton Foundation Global Initiative, and nobody actually sees how the money really flowed, but we know where at least a good piece of it went. Somehow or another, this needs to be considered to the Department of Justice, be referred to Pam Bondi and so many others, just to find out if it's okay to go after your political enemy's children, because they're probably crooks in theory, like they thought the Trumps were. Well, then it's tit for tat, and I would say it looks like Chelsea Clinton and father and mother as well could probably be in trouble for fraud behind their Clinton Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, several of their charities that they use to bilk people from several countries, including this one. But it's enough about that. Let's go ahead and get to the last video of the day. I just want to let y'all know it's not actually a video. It's just something Kash Patel said, and it's still resonating with me after it got millions of views. I think it got like 15 million views, if I remember right. And this is exactly what I wanted to hear. No one is above the law. FBI agents on a mission. Kash Patel says 17.1 million views, so it's went up 2 million views today since I originally tweeted this out. But all these investigations, all these little tidbits of information, people under indictment, under investigation, going to be subpoenaed, being raided like John Bolton today. This is just the beginning of the subpoenas, the raids, the indictments, the investigations. This ball has just gotten rolling, and probably up till, if not through, 2026, through the next election cycle, there's going to be a whole lot of people dragged through the mud behind their association, affiliation, and direct guilt and criminality. And that's just the facts, folks. Patel's FBI raid John Bolton's home on high-profile national security probe. How do you like me now? Now, this here I thought was a very cool picture. This is another AI picture, and the AI is so much fun over on Twitter. You get the good stuff. All you gotta do is ask for it. Look at there. That's the dream team of people that are going to take names, kick ass, lock people up, and hold them accountable. It's coming, folks. Them and several more are going to be a part of this whole process, including Janine Pirro, to make it happen, get it done, and hopefully get our country back in the direction it needs to go. As much as Trump and his team have been able to do in 7 months, I have hope that in 4 years our country will look like a different place. That's what I got for you today. Like, subscribe, and share. Hopefully everybody enjoyed. Over and out.